Goodness. Okay. So the last time I used this, there was definitely splatter involved. So I'm sure all of my colors are like mildly messed up. It's fine. I can fix that. What I'm also concerned about is how many of these still look wet, especially because I haven't painted in quite some time. I really need to clean this palette out, but oh well, it sounds like a problem for tomorrow, me. Alright, so we're gonna put this here. We're gonna throw this little piece of paper under there so that I can swatch things. And now we've got shout out to companies that send me things in giant cardboard boxes because I'm gonna use this a lot. Alright, so we're gonna do some of these upright and some of these horizontal. Now, with watercolor, because of the sheer amount of water you are using to create these, they will warp if you are not super duper careful about taping them down and, making sure that you are using enough water but not too much water. Everything is really just precision. Those are not even, but that's okay. Because again, these are homemade and I'm okay with them looking homemade because then people know I didn't print them. Go. No, it's about straight. I don't know why, but saying that just reminded me of a neurodivergent person I saw on the internet who had a shirt that said, "I can't even think straight." And they got it because they thought it was funny, not realizing it was a shirt about being gay. But like kind of wholesome and sweet. They were just like, yeah, I can't think straight because I'm autistic. And everybody was like, honey, like that's not entirely what that shirt meant. But like I'm here for people not fully understanding that they're and like the person didn't care because they were an ally, so like great. But it just cracked me up. They were just like, oh, now I understand why people were so confused when I was walking around with my husband. But we're using a low tack tape so that it will stick, but not permanently. Because obviously this will need to come off, and I have honestly not had great luck pulling painter's tape off without also pulling off paper, but it's fine. And again, it just really brings home that this was not printed, this was hand painted feel, which is important because these are getting sold at Clarksville. It's a annual thing. It is one of like the biggest local art events in Clarksville. And this is one of those, like, some things, if you apply, it's like, well, yeah, of course, they're going to say yes to literally everybody because, that's just, they need vendors. And that is not generally the case with Artsville. They get to be a little picky. And they also will try to, limit the amount of duplicate styles they get because, they want to make sure that people aren't encroaching on other people's territories. I'm going to try and be more sustainably aware with these two. I'm going to try and tape them so that I'm using less tape. We'll see if it works. Yes, kind of. it's a little more of an overlap than I wanted, but again, imperfection is fine. It's also very weird painting today because I am the only one home. My husband started a new job today. My kids at school. So like new opportunities to focus without any form of distraction. As a single woman, I probably shouldn't have said that on the internet, but I really don't think kidnappers are, checking out paint streams on YouTube Live to try and find victims. Also, yes, I do watch too much crime TV. Thank you. Let's see. Somehow those seem... Okay, clearly one of these is shorter than the other, but whatever. Again, they're all hand cut. They're all hand created. So, like, this is just, this is what we do. I probably should get a palette. Yeah, okay. Today is definitely a you should have washed your palette day. So we're just gonna do a quick little squirt some water on here. I mean, technically I could use most of these colors, but I want to have, a clean-ish palette so that I'm not cross-contaminating colors and yada, 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 yada. I'm gonna clean this over here just so we don't drip on our unpainted bookmarks. Yeah, so if you want to get into watercolor and you want to use palettes, do not buy palettes. Go to Dollar Tree, Dollar General, and find their porcelain plates, and they work just fine. And as you can see, very easy to clean off. All right. So we're going to start up top so that will dry while we're painting. I had a paintbrush, where to put it. Oh my God, I'm a mess today. Okay, actually, where did I put it? Am I blind? What did I do with that brush? Weird. Okay. There's so many questions and so few answers. All right, cool. Oh, there it is. All right. So, actually, we're not going to use that yet. We're going to use one of my cheap cruddy brushes because that's what we use for picking up paints and throwing them on this page. So, I'm going to try and do like an enchanted forest looking thing. Ooh, almost stuck that in my coffee. Yeah, it's just going to be one of those days. All right, so to rinse that off real well, grab some of this cooler yellow. Let's see, a little bit of orange. Don't need a ton. I hate wasting paint, which is so hard with watercolor because it's really easy to just use a ton without meaning to. But again, I filled this palette almost a year ago. Clearly, it's still doing just fine. What I do to try and preserve the color of my water, which clearly I did not do very well, is brush it off on a paper towel and then try to do this. Now, the other thing I'm going to try and do, I want rather a lot of indigo. Very, very dry indigo, apparently. But we're gonna load this up because I want quite a lot of this. I'm gonna try and do a entirely monocolor scene, and I'm going to do it in indigo, which I've seen such mixed reviews on indigo. There's this sweet little old lady who paints and she despises the color indigo, whereas I'm like, oh, it's pretty. And there's other people who are like, I love this. This is my favorite color. Indigo is my god. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I get it. This is, I believe, a French ultramarine blue. And then we're going to use some phthalo blue, which is almost the same color. All of these are very, very reminiscent of each other. But we're going to throw in some of this really gorgeous dark hooker's green, which is one of my all-time favorite pigments. I can thank my teacher for that one. She's a very big stan for core hooker's green, and she is the reason that I love it so much. Okay, I can't. These colors are so dark. So we're going to go like this and dump those out and just get some fresh water in there. Ooh, we're running low on water. Of course we are. We're going to cheat. All right. So, very wet. I'm going to do a tiny little drop of this cool yellow. We want this a really watery mix because this is going to be our initial sort of background color. The thing about watercolor is you can always add more. It is much harder to take away. You can technically take away, but it is muy difícil. Alright, so we're just gonna, I don't know why that's coming out almost like blue, but whatever. Add a little bit more. We're just gonna throw some yellow in there, and I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow. I'm going to throw some of that in there. Yeah, that should work. And again, we're just really watery versions of these colors. I'm just going to drop some touches of these colors in. And I debated telling you guys what we're painting, but I'm not gonna. Because I like the surprise effect. This is one of those trust the process moments. Also, I don't know if you should trust the process because I have literally never painted anything like these before. So we will see how things turn out. So again, just using a lot of water to really make sure all this kind of blends together. I'm actually really proud of how this is turning out. Again, because I've literally never done this before. We're just gonna kind of draw all of this down, soften that hard edge. Draw quite a bit more yellow in there. Yeah, so we're going to leave that one to dry. And then we're going to come rinse that brush off really well. And we're going to come over here. And we're going to use, again, quite a lot of water. I'm going to use a teeny bit of this phthalo blue-green shade. Actually, I'm just going to... We're experimenting here. So I'm just going to put straight up a drop of water on here. A big drop of water. And again, just a tiny, tiny bit of that phthalo blue. Look, it's cool. God, I love watercolor. It's so much fun to play with. So we're just going to soften all of that out. And we're just going to make sure all of this is sort of that very, very watery blue. And then we're going to add in a little bit more with I'm using music that won't get me in trouble with YouTube, but it very much sounds like I'm in a grocery store. I'm actually really happy with how these are turning out so far, especially considering I've never done anything like this before. Right. Now we're gonna move this over here while those two dry. All right. I almost feel like I need one brush for cool and one brush for warms, but we're not gonna do that. I did really like how that worked on the blue, so we're going to do that again. Just going to get this saturated. I'm using Arches 100% cotton watercolor paper, which means it is thirsty, it will stay wet, and it will do basically all the things I need it to do. All right, so we're just going to throw in some really watery. This is one of those times where I really wish I was one of those people who had like a heat gun, because I know that that would make this way easier and faster. But at the same time, I like seeing what my paints do naturally. I also don't have my fan on, which would probably help with the drying process, but unfortunately that would affect the painting process. So I'm going to rinse this really well. Now it's time to go do a cool one. Ooh, that is a lot of water. Whoop. I may actually pull some of this up just because it is an exceptionally large amount of water. Come over here, make sure this is all equally wet and saturated, because you don't want dry spots because they are very visible. All right, so we're gonna come over here, get our cool water, mix up some of this blue. I'm gonna draw this all the way down. Okay, I really like the way that turned out. Again, I've literally never done this before. I've never practiced. This is my practice. So I am insanely. God, I wish I could remember which real video short I watched that had this. I've watched a lot in the last few days, so unfortunately, I couldn't tell you who specifically did this. I know a lot of artists do. But yeah, this is really fun. And the cool thing is, even if you do like a screw up, like I've done a couple of those so far on this one, it's very easy to just sort of cover up with squiggles. I always assumed there was a lot of precision that went into these gorgeous pine tree paintings that I saw people do. And then there's basically just a bunch of scribbles, which is both like yay, but also this is what I was intimidated of all this time. I'm still pretty early on in my art career. I only started painting less than a year ago, so 9 months. And I only officially started selling things within like the last month or so. So it's definitely been a process. I think honestly the hardest part to learn has just been confidence in like, yes, I can do this, or it's okay if I fail. And, not being afraid to try new things. And it being okay if it doesn't work out the first or the second time. Just being willing to take risks. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, at least we learned something. And, I think that's something everybody should understand and work towards, but also just, that's, I think, a great way to go through life. Just everything's not always going to work. Everything's not always going to be flowers and roses. You're not going to succeed on your first attempt. You're not going to succeed on your second attempt. You just need to understand that sometimes, okay, that one got a little wonky. Sometimes things just are going to happen a certain way, and you just have to be grateful for the opportunity to experience them, regardless of whether it turns out the way you wanted it to. Now, for this, we're going to make a very watery mix. Still not watery enough. Yeah, let's see. If it's not watery enough, well, we can always just... That should be good. We're going to bring that all the way down. We'll have to hop off here soon because I have a meeting for the nonprofit I work with. But for now, let me just say how grateful I am to have had you guys join me, and I love being here with you and having today just be that kind of quiet, lovely day. This is such a great way to start my morning. It really is. There's where I'm a reminder that it's almost time for my meeting. All right. I think we're going to leave that where it is, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.